after my husband died in an accident. At my sister's son's birthday party, she publicly announced that the baby was my husband's and she wanted half of his $50 million inheritance. I couldn't help but laugh because my husband had. The clink of Ava's spoon against her glass cut through the chatter like a knife. My heart, a quiet drumbeat against my ribs, responded with a sudden tight squeeze. I felt it, even before she spoke. That almost imperceptible shift in her smile, a flicker of something calculating in her eyes that met mine across the pastel-strewn room. This wasn't about baby shower games anymore. This was a performance. Just 7 months ago, my world had violently fractured. 1 minute, I was 33, happily married to Noah, meticulously planning our future. The next, a phone call, a terrible car crash, and I was a widow, quietly arranging cremation because his body was too damaged for an open casket.
Grief was a thick fog, blinding me, muffling the world.
My parents, surprisingly, stepped in, handling the logistics. Olivia, honey, my mom had said, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it, you just focus on yourself. Those weeks were a blur of sleepless nights and the dull ache of absence. A support group became my anchor, a circle of strangers who understood the weight in my chest. Sometimes I wake up and forget he's gone, just for a second, I'd admitted once, my voice barely a whisper. Rachel, who'd lost her husband years ago, simply held my hand. Grief comes in waves, sweetie, she'd said. It was true. The waves still came, but I was learning to breathe. Life began to settle into a new routine. Noah had left me financially secure, a suburban house, a city apartment, a comfortable bank balance. I could have retreated, but the thought of being alone within those walls day after day scared me more than anything. So I returned to work part-time, just enough to keep my mind tethered to something real. The most unexpected change was my relationship with my parents. For years, I'd felt a subtle distance, always secondary to my younger sister, Ava. My good grades barely registered, Ava's dance shows were events. But with Noah gone, they seemed to see me. I sent them a generous monthly sum, without a second thought. Our weekly dinners transformed from obligation to something I genuinely looked forward to. Dad would ask about my marketing projects, truly listening, and I, in turn, found myself talking, truly seen. Then Ava arrived for dinner, 8 months pregnant, and the familiar dynamic reasserted itself.
The room tilted.
My parents rushed to her, their focus absolute.
Ava, sweetie, sit here. Do you need another PO?
My mother's voice, once gentle with me, now held an urgent solicitude for Ava, gently nudging me aside. I faded.
Invisible again.
The old ache of being overlooked, a phantom limb I thought I'd amputated, returned with surprising speed. Later, over Mom's pot roast, I tried to bridge the gap.
So, où est ce fater?
Have you told him about the baby? Ava's face tightened.
That is my business.
Her voice was sharp, a knife's edge. My mother swiftly intervened. Olivia, don't ask questions. Your sister doesn't owe anyone an explanation. I remember the endless questions, the unsolicited advice, the constant updates demanded when Noah and I were struggling with fertility treatments. Their respect for Ava's privacy now was a stark, bitter contrast. A few weeks later, I tried again. Babies cost a lot. How will you manage everything by yourself? Ava waved a dismissive hand, that smug smile playing on her lips.
Don't worry about me. I vais go titulander contrôle.
I knew that smile. It preceded every half-baked scheme, the 3-week smoothie business, the unfinished life coach training, the crypto investment that swallowed months of rent. Yet, my father beamed.
That is my girl.
She always finds a way to land on her feet. I took another bite of pot roast, the taste suddenly flat. Some things, I thought, never change. When Ava called about her baby shower, a faint tremor of hope stirred within me. An invitation, from her? It felt unusual, a chance to mend old wounds. I'll be there, I said, pushing down the odd twisting in my stomach that something felt off. The house, on Sunday, was a storm of pastel.
Balloon, streamer, a colossal diapécake.
Half the town seemed present. Ava, radiant in her maternity dress, moved through the crowd. Her eyes, however, kept finding mine, holding my gaze a fraction too long, a silent question or a challenge. During the games, I won the belly measuring contest, and her smile faltered.
She watched me, like a hunter waiting for the perfect shot.
Then came the gifts. She made a spectacle of each item, oohing and ahhing. My gifts, a fancy monitor, a handmade blanket. She held the blanket for a long moment, tracing the stitching. Then, the almost imperceptible tap of her spoon against glass. The room hushed.
My breathed. The air thickened, heavy with unspoken things.
I knew. I felt it, a cold dread seeping into my bones. I want to thank everyone, Ava began, her voice brimming with a practiced sincerity, one hand resting on her swollen belly. But there's something else I need to say. It's time everyone knows who the father of my baby is. Her eyes locked on mine. And even before the words left her lips, I knew the name she would speak.
The name of my dead husband.
The father, she announced, her voice ringing clear in the sudden quiet, is Noah Chastain.
Olivia S. let husband.
A stillness descended over me, a strange, profound calm. The noise of gasps and whispers in the room became a distant hum, like blood rushing in my ears. I saw Aunt Carolyn's shocked hand fly to her mouth, Ava's friends huddle. But my parents. Their faces held no surprise, only a quiet, resolute stillness. They knew. That was the most painful revelation of all. I reached for the back of a nearby chair. My knuckles went white. My voice, when it came, was a rough, dry whisper.
You're lying.
All of you are lying. Noah would never do this. Ava's smile turned sharp, malicious. She produced her phone. Then how do you explain this? She held up the screen. Noah and Ava, locked in an embrace in a hotel room. Another, holding hands in a restaurant I didn't recognize. He loved me, she said, loud enough for everyone. He was going to leave you for me. We were planning to tell everyone. Her eyes filled with tears, a performance honed to perfection. But then the accident happened, and all our plans disappeared. My body moved on its own. I grabbed my purse, a desperate anchor.
The shocked face parted, a silent current guiding me through the crowd.
I stumbled to my car, the key fumbling in my shaking hand.
My mother's voice, a distant cry, faded I backed out.
The drive home was a blur of highway and the flashing images on Ava's screen.
The restaurant, Noah's business dinner.
The hotel, his work trips. Each memory, now tainted, twisting in my mind. My phone vibrated relentlessly the moment I stepped inside.
Ava.
Dozens of messages.
Screenshot.
Her chats with Noah.
I don't love her anymore. We tell everyone after the divorce. You're the only one you want.
I can't wait to start our life together. Each message, a fresh cut. Months. All those months I endured painful fertility treatments, blaming myself, while he and my sister plotted a future without me. I couldn't sit still that night. I paced the house, touching Noah's things, examining photos on the walls, searching for the signs I'd missed.
Every happy memory now felt like a cruel deception.
Our entire life, a carefully constructed lie. At 6 a.m., the phone rang again. My parents.
I let it ring, counting.
Olivia, you need to be reasonable about this, Dad's voice, cold and confident, cut through the quiet. The sooner you agree to give Ava her share of the inheritance, the easier this will be for everyone. My mother chimed in, you don't want this to get messy, dear. A cold anger, precise and sharp, began to replace the raw pain. When did you know about them? I asked, my voice flat.
A bit of silence.
Then my mother, we've known for a while. Noah told us about 7 months before the accident. 7 months. They had watched me grieve, pretended comfort, accepted my money, knowing. Traitors, I whispered, the word tasting like ash.
All of you.
I hung up. My hands were steady as I opened my banking app, blocking their numbers, stopping the monthly payment. They could ask Ava for money now. Weeks passed in a haze. Missed calls, unread messages. Then an email from Ava, a threat of a lawsuit if I didn't voluntarily give her half of Noah's estate. I couldn't bring myself to reply. The betrayal was a heavy cloak. Even at work, the whispers began.
Sad look, hidden smiles. Larry, my boss and a kin man, calm in.
Olivia, he said, his voice gentle, take some time off. Paid or unpaid, whatever you need. I nodded, grateful, and packed my things. I barely left the house for weeks, groceries delivered, the doorbell ignored. Every happy memory was now poisoned by the truth of Noah's secret life with my sister. Then, on Facebook, a photo, Ava, smiling in a hospital bed, holding a newborn boy. My parents stood beside her, beaming. The baby was wrapped in the cream-colored blanket I'd made. And his name, Noah Jr. The insult was a physical blow. A thick envelope arrived a week later. My hands trembled as I opened it. The court notice. Ava was suing. My husband's child, her son, deserved his father's inheritance. The demands were stark: the house, half the money, part of the downtown apartment. I spent 4 days meticulously researching lawyers before choosing Paul Hayon. He had a reputation for cutting through noise. "Miss Chastain," he said, his face calm, "your sister has strong evidence, texts, photos, witness statements, even from your parents." He paused, adjusting his glasses. The court often sides with the child in these cases. That evening, an unknown number called. "Hello?" I answered.
Is this Olivia Chastain? A woman's voice, strangely familiar. I'm Logan Meyer.
Noah's mother.
The world tilted. I grabbed the kitchen counter, Mike Nucleoite.
"That's impossible," I whispered. "Noah told me he was an orphan. He said his parents died when he was little." "I'm afraid that was another lie," she said, her voice bitter but not cruel. "Would you meet with me? There are things you need to know." We met the next morning at a small cafe. I arrived early, my stomach a knot of nerves.
I couldn't drink the coffee, my en shook.
Then she walked in.
My briskoked.
Noah's eyes, his smile, the same graceful way of moving. "I was at the funeral," she said, her voice quiet, as we settled into a secluded booth.
I sat in the back row.
"I couldn't bring myself to speak to you then. Noah and I hadn't talked in years." I remembered her then, a veiled figure in black, leaving before the service ended. At the time, grief had consumed me, but now the memory was clear. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked, a hint of suspicion in my voice. Logan pulled out a worn manila envelope. "Because I heard what your sister is trying to do. And because, even with everything, I don't want another woman to suffer because of my son's lies." Her fingers trembled as she slid the envelope across the table. I opened it slowly. Inside, medical records from Hartford General Hospital, dated 11 years ago, a year before Noah and I married.
My blood ran cold. Complete azoospermia.
Permanently sterile.
No chance of natural conception.
The words were punches. "Noah had this test when he was 26, Logan said, her voice almost a whisper. "He was heartbroken. It was one of the last things we ever talked about before we stopped speaking."
All those years. The doctor, the hormone shot, the tears, blaming myself. All la cruel, deliberately.
He had known. Here's the rewritten passage, substituting words with similar meanings to maintain the original meaning. The legal chamber was filled to capacity on the day of the session. Ava, acting the grieving mother flawlessly, sat holding baby Noah Jr., my parents next to her, beaming with pride. Her plain dark dress, subtle makeup, a carefully rehearsed sadness. She took the stand, her voice quivering with fabricated emotion.
Oli désir y soit-ce juste for my son.
He deserves his father's inheritance. Mr. Hayon waited patiently. Then, he commenced. "Your Honor, I'd like to offer proof that Miss Ramsey's complete claim is deceitful." He passed over the clinic reports. Ava's attorney protested, loudly challenging the document's validity. Ava herself broke down. "Those documents are false," she screamed, clutching the infant. "She created them to rob my baby's legacy." Mr. Hayon stayed composed. "Your Honor, these records demonstrate Mr. Chastain was unable to father children. We request a DNA examination to verify parentage." Ava, self-assured in her falsehood, actually grinned. "That's not feasible. Noah was an orphan, and his body was reduced to ashes. There's no one to examine." Mr. Hayon turned toward the spectators. "Actually, Your Honor, I'd like to present Logan Meyer, Noah Chastain's biological mother."
Logan arose.
A unified gasp spread throughout the legal chamber.
Ava's face lost all color.
"I'm willing to take a DNA examination," Logan stated clearly, "to determine if this baby is really my grandson." The judge agreed. A DNA examination is directed. We will meet again once the findings are in. Ava faltered, clutching her mother's arm, a fierce, spiteful stare directed at me. But for the first time in months, I felt a lightness, a delicate hope. The courtroom was silent as the judge opened the letter. Ava sat rigidly, the baby sleeping peacefully in her arms. The findings clearly indicate, the judge's voice was steady, that there is no genetic link between the child and Mrs. Logan Meyer. That implies Noah Chastain is not the father of this child.
A collective gasp.
Ava's carefully built front crumbled. Tears, genuine this time, flowed down her face. Miss Ramsey, the judge said, her voice severe, do you want to explain why you lied to this court? Ava hugged the baby tighter, her voice faint. I was seeing more than one man. When Noah passed away and was cremated, I assumed no one would discover it. He possessed money, and I needed it. So you attempted to defraud your own sister, the judge pressed, and employed your parents to assist in this trickery? I simply desired my baby to have a good life, Ava whispered, but her act was finished. Even my parents looked shocked, a growing understanding on their faces. The judge's decision was quick and final. This court rules in favor of the defendant, Olivia Chastain. All of Ava Ramsey's claims to the estate are rejected, permanently. Miss Ramsey, you are fortunate Mrs. Chastain has not initiated legal measures for attempted deceit. Outside the courthouse, my parents approached, Mom's face stained with tears, Dad appearing older than I had ever witnessed him. Olivia dear, Mom started, reaching for my hand. We weren't aware Ava was deceiving. We want to rectify things. We've been struggling since you stopped sending the monthly money.
Il reste de maillande.
Don't.
Just don't.
Then right there in front of them, I took out my phone, blocked their contact information, and walked away without turning back. Logan was waiting by my vehicle. Are you all right? She asked, her voice soft. To my astonishment, a small sincere laugh escaped me.
You know what?
I believe I am. Or I will be.
Il inhalait deeply, the air feeling fresh, clear.
I've been pondering that downtown apartment Noah left me. I never truly liked it, too many memories. But perhaps, maybe you'd want it. Her eyes grew wide. Olivia, no, I couldn't. Please, I said, a resolution in my voice I hadn't realized I had. You gave me my life back with those medical records. Allow me to give you something in return. A week later, I gave her the keys. She cried, embracing me tightly. I never imagined I'd have a daughter, she murmured. That was 4 months earlier. My former family still tries to get in touch through distant kin, common acquaintances, but I've severed those bonds. Ava even delivered a letter, filled with meaningless apologies and pleas for assistance. I disposed of it, unread. Instead, I have weekly meals with Logan. We are slowly, cautiously, getting familiar with each other, sharing tales about Noah, the good and the bad.
She aide me in reconciling the man he adored with the man who lied.
Yesterday, I finally packed up the last of Noah's possessions. Logan assisted me in donating some, storing the remainder. While we labored, she recounted anecdotes of Noah as a young boy, before the layers of dishonesty. It helped. It permitted me to trust a positive part of him once existed. I'm not prepared to date. Not yet. But I am alive. I've returned to work full-time, joined a trekking club. I'm even arranging my first independent trip.
Sometime, when he looked in the mirror, he scarcely recognized the woman staring back.
Life has a strange manner of surprising you. I forfeited the family I was born into, but I discovered a new one I never anticipated. It's not the life I planned, but perhaps, it's the life I was intended to have all along. Lesson. My story is a testament to how life can strip everything away, revealing not just the pain of betrayal, but also an incredible strength you never knew you had. I learned that trust, once broken, can redefine who your family truly is. Sometimes, the deepest wounds lead you to the most authentic connections, and reclaiming your truth, no matter how hard, is the only way to build a life worth living. It's about finding the courage to walk away from what poisons you and embrace the unexpected paths to genuine belonging and peace. My journey has been a long one, full of unexpected turns and painful revelations. I wonder, what are your thoughts on my story? Have you ever had to redefine family, or find unexpected strength after a profound betrayal?
Idée love to hear your perspective.